On the agenda, but before we go there, we have another item that needs our attention this evening, and so Eric is going to chat with us about that. Eric?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Patty, for squeezing me in. I will be very brief. Wanted to just cover quickly, so we'll switch. So you have in front of you, I passed out this page right here. If you recall, back in April of 2017, we adopted our master plan, so we know what our final park system should look like in regards to parks at build out. Every park is identified on here either in green or these two upper red ones. So these two and all the green, we have already acquired either through a development agreement that will happen in the future, or we already have it in our inventory and just need to maybe build out. The master plan that was adopted in 17 talked about putting some kind of community park in the southern portion of Windsor. As you know, we discussed acquisition of a property, and the same property we're talking about tonight, back in October of 17. Ultimately, we determined we couldn't do the transaction based upon the way we were trying to make that happen. Back in early January, I asked if it was okay if I talked with the school district, who also has some property there that would like to acquire more. You gave me the approval to get into those negotiations. I have done that with the school district. And so basically they have 75 acres. They'd like to add an additional 21 that was pretty much will be athletic sites for them, football field, baseball field, that kind of stuff, soccer, football, lacrosse. So that property is 48 acres. We don't need all 48, and that's your second page that you see. So I've been talking with the school. They would like 21 acres, which would leave us 27. Still meets our community park standard in regards to size. So this really is our opportunity, because it is my understanding there's no other property that I am aware of that's available in southern Windsor for a community park. So this is really our shot to fill our inventory and know that these are our parks and what we have to build out from here on out to the rest of Windsor's build out. So I've been negotiating and talking with the developer and the school, and they're at kind of a crossroads where the school, no pun intended, the school district, so the property we're talking about is what we refer to as LeBoux Farms. I sketched in, so this is their 75, everything to the right. They'd like to acquire approximately a 21. This would leave us with about 27. It would become a community park. But the developer really needs to know whether we are willing to move forward and the school is willing to move forward. Otherwise, he's probably going to put it on the market because the market is hot and obviously would want to sell it at the high end if they can. So that's kind of where we're at. It would be based upon our current fee in lieu, but obviously we're in an open work session, not in discussions of something we would talk about in transactions and that might happen in closed session, but I'm interested in finding out if the board is still interested in acquiring the property. I will tell you that I spoke with Dean Moyer, and we do have the flexibility to borrow money from one of our funds, which we do have the money in our funds. So for example, if we wanted to borrow from the neighborhood park fund, put it in a community park fund, pay for the acquisition, and then when the funds come back over time into community park, we could pay our internal loan back. So we can come up with the money without
How much
tapping.
are we talking, roughly? Or do you even know?
Yeah, I know, it's a little over one.
Okay, is there still possibility to partner with the school though
Yes,
too, as
absolutely.
part of that whole
That is a
apartment
great point.
system?
So, and that is what the school and I have been talking about was when it comes time to build, and that may be 10, 15, 20 years down the road, when they're ready to put their high school, middle school in, and we're ready to do the park, that we would try to come up with an
What
agreement.
did you say, 5 to 10 years? You do mean like in five months they'll be needing that school.
You said actually up to 20 years,
Things
so.
are going, right?
Okay, next month. So that we are in agreement that it would be ideal for us that when it comes
Okay.
time to build the athletic fields, that we would share cost and share use, because it doesn't make any sense for us to, if we need a football field, for them to build one and we build one right beside it. It just
agree.
makes a whole lot
That's
more
why I wanna
sense
make
to
sure
save money.
that we really look at
Yes.
how we can, maximize our partnership, and the school can maximize whatever we want, I mean, I think it's a win-win for both.
And I've spoken with both Stephanie and Dan, and that is our intention through conversation is that we would partner when it comes time to build.
So the big L-shaped
Mhm.
space there, is that already acquired by the school?
No, so this portion they own that right here.
Okay.
That would be high school, middle school. What they don't have is athletic fields, which is this portion.
Okay.
So they'd like to put that there. If we had a park, the athletic fields could bleed together. So and I'm just speculating, but maybe this is a football field, maybe this is a baseball field, or lacrosse and soccer. It could bleed into the park and it's basically co-use.
So
Co-building,
if we
co-use.
don't purchase, what would the developer intend to sell it to somebody doing what that?
It could be anything from houses to apartments to whatever it is zoned.
Well, I think there's limited development potential just based on wasn't most of the sewer capacity moved to rain dance?
Good point.
So there's not a lot of development potential without, because they moved the density off that site, so it's really limited.
But I think the bigger thing is, the school already has identified,
Yes.
they have a need of it,
Mhm.
irregardless,
Right.
so.
So are they're buying the 21 acres, we're buying the 27. It's not like we're buying 48 and trying to
Correct.
sell it to.
They don't need
Clean.
48 and we don't need
Correct.
48. And I would also, not speaking for them, I don't know that either party can afford 48.
Right.
So we're trying to figure out that if we can do a part and they can do a part, could it work?
No, I was just wondering if we're buying 48 and then selling it to them or.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
We
I have a
would-
question. What fund are you proposing, or are you just speculating that it could be?
It would either be neighborhood park fund, which probably is my first choice.
Yeah.
And the dean told me tonight that in the conservation trust fund, we have almost all of that. I don't know that I want to go into that one just because we use that for things like trails and those kind of things. And I wouldn't want to delay them because there are some trail needs that we have coming up.
Because I'm always weird about, doing those,
Yes.
but it makes sense, a park
But
for
I-
parkland
not-
versus the water fund or some other fund.
And not to get into, we've got a work session coming up on the 26th that hopefully will speed that process up when we talk about park development fees. I think that will help recoup the money quicker in one fund instead of two.
Eric, I think that, earlier we talked, and they were just talking about a middle school, but now they're talking about the need for a high school and a middle school, and it is going to be needed from the numbers of kids that, we have. So I like the idea, and I think it's great, it sounds great.
So is that what you just kind of need to see, the green light consensus?
If
that
you have a
to
green
kind of
light
Keep
consensus,
this conversation so
and-
you can bring something to
Right,
us?
so what I will do is make sure that the school is get the same from their board, and then assuming that is the case, I'll get with Ian and we can start working on the
Everybody
actual
in
process.
favor of him? Yes. Looks like you've
Okay.
got it.
Thank you, and I appreciate it again, let me squeeze in.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Do you see, Cap, 10 minutes?
See,
So
I
proud.
can be short.
So proud of you.
He's not gone yet.
Stop. Do not jinx this. Do not jinx this.
I'm just, he's
You have, Eric?
still wrapping up.
Stop it. We're not gonna let him speak. Okay, go. Keep going. Out the door. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
See ya.
Okay, so then moving on to our first item
Please.
on the agenda this evening. Scott Balstead is going to present this to us, and it is the road improvement plan prioritization. So,
Yeah, so, thank you, Mayor, Town Board. The roadway improvement plan prioritization group was created last year, kind of in the same time frame that we were working on the roadway improvement plan with FHU that was eventually adopted in September. And the concept was that we would include different departments than normally are involved in the planning of the road system, and include police, public works, management, in addition to engineering and planning, because they're the people out in the field, and they see firsthand some of the issues with some of the pinch points in our network, I guess. So the group included staff from those departments, and the way it was presented to us by the previous town manager was think outside the box, look at things that might not normally be on the capital improvement program, but would possibly address issues that we see in the field. So with that direction, the group came up with this priority list that was in your packets, and I brought some paper copies in case you need those. And they were grouped into two different categories, long-term and short-term. So a lot of the short-term projects that you see on the list are projects that might be adjacent to an ongoing development and an opportunity to partner with the developer, or they might be more of a straightforward project that doesn't have a lot of design challenges and is something that could be a smaller budget, whereas a long-term project is one that may have design challenges. I'll use the Crossroads extension as an example. That's got the bridge over the Poudre River, which is obviously a really big ticket item, or may have some other design challenges that are floodplain related, those kind of things. So we lump those into the long-term category, because those might be things that, while they might be a priority, the town board might want to bite off smaller incremental aspects of those projects, such as acquiring the right-of-way before development encroaches and makes the project impossible, those kind of things. So this was really a boil down of those projects, and I'll just pull up the map that corresponds. So this map has and it's also in the packet, has the number that corresponds to the project number on this list that I just handed out. And you can see we've got, I believe, 20, what was the last number on that list? 21?
21.
So yeah, all 21 projects are shown, depicted here. And they are also on the roadway system inventory and analysis out of the back of the roadway improvement plan that was adopted last September. So some of these are higher priority on this list because they're already operating at a level of service C or worse than level of service C. And that was all identified in the roadway improvement plan. But this list that I just handed out also includes projects that may take into account projects that might have an opportunity to get traffic out of downtown, or may improve the overall functionality of the road network. So with that, I don't know if we want to walk through the list or open it up for town board questions as to which projects.
I have a question.
I've got one that I feel like is missing from the list, because
Okay.
one of the items that was on the road improvement project was widening County Road 13 to 4 lanes between 392 and Crossroads. And, and even in that inventory page, it's one of there's an orange section where the 2040 counts are over the threshold for that, but I didn't see it on the long-term projection, and I know that's one that's gonna take a lot of engineering because of the need to raise the road to avoid flooding, and obviously the bridge there, and so I guess I was wondering where that project is on the radar.
This was just the projects that the group that was assembled came up with as a list of priorities. That one just didn't raise to the level of what the other projects that
Like
did
it's
make
just
those.
viewed that the need is far enough out to
Right.
not need to be,
Right, as I
on there
pointed
now,
out in the memo, the numbers in red are the ones where the road is already at a capacity that is not functioning at a level of C service, but most of those are in 2040.
right?
The only two that are currently at that level are the ones on Highway 392 and Highway 257. So this project, Highway 257 between Crossroads and Eastman Park Drive, is one that is currently not functioning correctly or at the level of service that we strive to achieve. And then also segments of Highway 392 are currently in the red. So yes, as time moves on between now and 2040, more and more of these black numbers will be turning red. But right now, this section and this section are the only two. And again, those are both state highways, so you bring CDOT into the equation. But no, I think from the group's perspective, and I'm just talking in generalities, County Road 13 wasn't, I guess with the exception of straightening County Road 13, this was a concept that we got that jog north of 32E, and one of the reasons that the group added that to the list was the current plan that Thornton's installing their water pipeline along County Line Road. And we have in the roadway improvement plan, the concept of straightening out this jog, especially now that there will be a traffic signal at County Line Road and Harmony Road in the near future. And so straightening that out would allow a lot of the traffic that's currently using 13 to come up to 32E and over to go up to the light at Harmony Road. So I think that's it's really what the gut feel of that group was. This list is definitely something that's open for town board interpretation and modification.
I have a question about, just in general, how much would a developer pay for some of these improvements? I'm looking at 6, 7, 8, 10, and 20. You have 5 projects within maybe 1 square mile out there,
Mm-hmm.
but we know there's gonna be development on the northwest corner.
Right.
Does that help us? Are they funding 100% of it? How does that work?
Well, that's what prompted some of those projects to be in the short term, assuming that some of the development on the adjacent property occurs, then it might be an opportunity for the town to partner with the developer and expedite some of those improvements. But generally speaking, the road impact fee will reimburse for the through lanes, but not for the improvements that are auxiliary lanes that are used just to serve that development. So,
So if we had a right turn lane going north on County Road 5,
mhm.
right there at number 6, is that considered a through lane, even though it's a right turn lane onto another street, not even onto their development? So if I'm-
That would be an auxiliary lane.
Yeah, but it's serving another arterial,
Right.
so
Right.
it would be a capacity issue, so
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
road impact.
Okay.
It would be a road impact.
So we brought up some of these projects with CDOT, and CDOT was in favor of what, doing traffic studies on them? I'm trying to just recoup where we've been on this, because we've talked to CDOT and Johnny, now Johnny's retiring, I mean, some of these, and we're not getting the issues resolved. Johnny also told us in a group, there was a select amount of us that were there, that the reason 20 can't get done is because the bridge isn't old enough going over the Pooter. So when we define it as a long-term project, what's long-term?
20 is not the bridge though, I don't think.
Well, no, I'm just talking about the red line where 20 is at. The reason that CDOT has poo-pooed that is because their study says that that bridge is like 1/4 of the way through its life or something like that, and it's,
Well, it's not that. I mean, I think they do an assessment of the bridge and it is in too good of shape. It's
Right,
not
right.
based on age. I mean, they actually look at.
they give it a score.
Because I'm on the
Yeah.
bridge, the bridge and roadway group, and we get all of those bridges that we have to look at, and I mean, they have pictures and studies, and it's a whole deterioration
Mhm.
kind of model, and then they're rated, and.
It was like
our-
a
it just-
3 or
just
something, and it
rates
needs to
too
be a
high.
10 before they're ready to
It
tear it down.
has to be like 100 or something.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, it goes to like to 100 or something. Yeah.
Sure.
And it's in way, yeah, it's too good a shape.
But when we come to this,
Unfortunately.
what's long-term? What's the definition of, when we say long-term projects and short-term, what's?
It's as simple as what the synopsis at the top of the table says. Essentially, if it's a project that we know that it involves an expensive bridge replacement over the Pooter, then that's automatically been lumped into the long term, because we know we're probably going to be looking at different funding mechanisms, partnering with CDOT, looking at grants, those kind of things. But those long-term projects, if there's an opportunity to begin acquiring right-of-way or something, and I go back to like the straightening of 13, not that that's, I only mention it as an example. If we have an opportunity right now with Thornton putting in their pipeline and acquiring right-of-way, we may not straighten the road for years, but right now would be a good time to
Get right away.
acquire the right-of-way while they're acquiring right-of-way, that kind of thing.
Scott,
Mhm.
can we switch over to 257 and, well, you're all right, they're map, but 257 and the possibility of the bridge over the river to connect to O Street in Greeley? And are we gonna just lose that if we fool around and not have that connection, which I think would be very important? And I think when Johnny was talking with us, he was talking so much about going north on the east side of the industrial center, and he was pretty much in favor of that, as I recall that conversation. And he was ready to help us with it. And again, I mean, just some of us were there, but he was thinking it was a good move. If we just do the one road going north up to, am I wrong, Paul? Isn't that basically what he said, though?
To take the extension of Crossroads
Right.
and not put it where it is there, you're talking about go to the north of the?
No, I'm across the river
Yeah.
and connect just south of the Kodak,
Yeah, yeah,
Kodak
yeah.
Center.
Well, we
and
have
then-
a study
then
right
connect-
now, do we not, that is looking at that with,
CDOT helping
with,
Yeah,
well, it was DOLA, it was a DOLA Energy Impact Grant with,
Right.
it's Great Western, it is Weld County, and it is Windsor.
well, that's actually in the 2018 budget, isn't it, to
Right.
allocate so
Correct.
much money for the,
Yeah, we're in the
Engineering or-
process of selecting the engineer for that. It's gonna be a 60% design.
So the bridge you're talking about is another bridge over here on the river to the west.
Yeah,
That they-
Yeah, we are
So-
talking about the 392
So there's a
bridge.
Hooter River Bridge on Crossroads, and then there's replacement of the one on Highway 392 that would be required for 4-lane widening.
the one at 392 is the one that we were talking about.
Well, I just wanna make sure, but and I guess, I don't know who all is on this committee, but are they looking at the actual traffic though? And are they actually looking at the need rather than the cost? I'm just hearing costs.
Yeah,
And
the group was charged to think outside the box, and they weren't looking at cost at all. They were just looking at where they see issues in the field. If the public works crew or the PD is out there and they see traffic backing up or something, that's where their input came from. It wasn't about budgetary constraints.
and have they been around the stoplight there at New Liberty Road and coming on to 257 almost any time of the
Yeah, I think,
day? And I mean, I'm just saying, I think, like I said, I wasn't on the committee but I'm concerned about the traffic in this town and where it's going and what's happening right now. And I'm just thinking that,
Well, I would concur
We're
with
doing
Cindy.
everything west.
I would concur with Cindy that 15, 16, 17, and 18 versus County Road, county line between 392 and Crossroads. I mean, Martin's development in Rain Dance is gonna increase extremely the flow that's on 13 between 392 and Crossroads. We're
It's
extending,
gonna
we're
increase
widening Crossroads out to I-25 and looking at, we're limited as to what we can do with 392. But,
We're not limited.
no, I'm just saying with the bridge and working with
Bridge.
CDOT and all of
If you look
that.
at 6, 7, 8,
I agree the 6, 7, 8, I'm
13
talking
is-
about
Because I
the,
think the intersection right where 6 is probably a number one bottleneck for our community.
well, we had talked about coordinating lights, you know, the lights there at 5 and
because
Well, highway.
13, we all see that's obviously gonna be a problem. But it's not yet. Like,
Right,
the other places
right.
are already a problem.
I'm talking about
right,
in exchange or bartering, the 15, 16, 17, and 18 for prioritizing 13 between 392
I
and
mean, I get what
Crossroads.
you're saying, but I think when you look at those 4 projects, I think those, as far as actual construction right now, but I think right-of-way acquisition is hugely important for those 4.
what are you're talking about, the ones on the corner again,
No,
6?
the 15
These.
through 18 up there,
so yeah, these were,
as
you
we
know,
talk about ways to try and divert traffic
right.
out of downtown, I think those are gonna be huge options for us.
Yeah, I
that
think, I'm sorry.
We need the foresight to
and
get
if
that
Rocky,
right
if
away.
Rocky
Before
Mountain
Miles' question was made,
happens,
Scott,
Yeah,
is it correct, I mean, I wanna make sure we're clear, these are not prioritized in order.
no, there's no
Right.
order of priority.
19
That's,
could be before 1, I mean, it depends on opportunity and funding.
right, these were strictly put together for the board's
Right.
consideration and having this discussion. I would agree that, 17 and 18 are probably not nearly as critical as 15 and 16.
Mhm.
The reason that these are on the list is obviously the alternate east-west corridor that would bypass downtown essentially, so. And we do have development plans for some of the adjacent properties that are becoming reactivated that may make them a more near term than they're currently listed.
Scott, I have a question, maybe it's Dennis, I don't know. The Crossroads extension, how does that help Windsor's traffic problem?
Well, I think primarily it allows the industrial park traffic to get over to 257 and then theoretically down to Highway 34 without having to go through, use Eastman Park Drive or 392. So a lot of that traffic is,
But I feel like connecting all the way to Greeley brings more traffic into town.
but Johnny Olson talked a lot about the truck detour and getting the trucks off these main roads, and he felt that that would take it over, and then north on, is it 21st? North to the other highways that are going to Greeley and out of this part of the town. And he was very much in favor of that.
Okay, I just asked.
Well, I know, but I'm sorry, but this is driving me crazy, and I'd like to see some costs and say, where do we have to go? And what do we have to do besides just?
Well, I understand what Miles is saying, because I kind of agree, I think that the Crossroads extension benefits Greeley more than it benefits
I
necessarily
don't think
Windsor.
we're looking at what Crossroads is gonna become. And it's gonna become a major thoroughfare on the south end of Windsor. And, I just feel it's gonna be widened and those roundabouts, and it will take us through the south end of town. I'm sorry.
I'm by no means saying it doesn't need to be
Strongly about
done,
that.
I'm by no means saying it doesn't
I'm
need to be
just
done,
asking,
I
what
think it
does the
does.
extension do? I understand widening Crossroads, I get that.
Mhm.
That extension there?
What
This
does
is-
11 do for Windsor?
I think
It
primarily
gets trucks
allows-
out of
I think
it
it's
gets the truck traffic.
That's
out
the
Off of
main
Main
thing.
Street.
Right.
Off of Main Street?
It can help
It gives them-
alleviate it off.
gives them
And
a
it's,
different route.
I don't think it helps entirely unless you can do the 257 extension.
Right.
I think you need
That's
both.
huge, yes.
I think you have to have both of those to see an effective difference on Main Street.
I see how it gets them off Eastman Park. But there, they're left or right.
But I think a lot of that truck traffic is taking County Road 23 up to 392 to get to the interstate.
Well,
That's
and,
the bit we're seeing a lot of
Best Way Concrete
Mhm.
has said that they'd like to send their trucks to Greeley via Crossroads, once that section is done too.
Chris, you brought up 257, that was one question I had, looking at 14 or whatever. Question, and Cindy kind of, is there a state law that says trucks have to stay on a state highway?
Depends
So
on
in
what
order
they're
to
carrying.
get trucks off of
It's a
Main
weight,
Street,
isn't it, weight on a certain road?
I'm not certain.
And
So in order to
Scott
get trucks
said
off of
they're
Main Street, is it imperative that we move to 57? And is there a step-by-step guide on what has to be done to do that?
So I believe Project 14 was the one that is
That'd be one
conceptually
option, right,
taking,
257 straight north.
yeah, taking 257 and moving it to this alignment all the way to Harmony Road. That's the project number 14.
I just, go ahead.
Is it imperative that we move 257 in order to get trucks out of Main Street? Is
The
that
14
required?
section?
I think it's the only way, because you're not gonna be able
So
to
I
do
think
a
it's
truck
a
limit.
requirement. So then the next thing is, how do we get a step-by-step answer from CDOT about what do we have to do to make that happen? And I don't think we've heard that from.
I just
CDOT.
wanted to give you, and I don't know if this is something that anybody with the town has done or not. Saturday, I was coming back from Fort Collins on Harmony to turn down on 7th, and come down from the north. And I looked over towards Kay Monfort's house, now by Demoski over there, and there was one of the Budweiser trucks going to the plant that's going up right in front, going northbound on County Road 19.
Right, 19, yeah.
I mean, the desired path that we would want that truck traffic to be going on. And I don't know if Mr. Arnold or somebody else had a conversation with the Metal Container Corp or, anything specifically about requesting them to take that route. But all I know is whether it was the truckers voluntarily, trying to avoid Maine or something, I don't know. I just wanted to say that I had seen that was happening. So.
We don't know what's required in terms of process to move 257.
You'd have
That's
to,
something we
you'd have
have
to
to
build
get.
the highway to the road to a highway standard.
Mhm.
Now, are you talking about trading CDOT for
Yes.
257?
That was the original talk
Yeah,
with
you have to
Johnny.
build it to a state highway standard.
I think that's why we need to have a
Right.
revisited conversation
Yeah.
with CDOT to, recap some of these very big, broad discussions we had.
Right.
And maybe at that time, when we do have that discussion, maybe we need to include
Well,
Dennis, or,
right.
I don't think we had any of you folks, I think it was just some town board members having just some, candid conversation about some roadway discussions. But now we need to come back to say, we're interested in X, Y, Z, what does it take
Right.
CDOT and town, to
So
make that
back to
happen?
Ivan's point, I mean, we don't have dollar figures in front of us, nor should we right now. But, so to get to that point, we need CDOT to sit at the table regardless of where it is in the map and say, here's the 5 steps you gotta do. So we can start costing things out and decide if we wanna do it or not.
Although you do have some estimated costs on here, how real, or, like, where is number 14 on here that we're talking about? Is it just under?
So that particular project isn't on this list because The roadway improvement plan only
Right.
added some text language about the possibility, saying that we should enter into a discussion with
Okay.
CDOT. So they didn't calculate a cost for that
Okay.
particular one.
Scott, you talking about the big spreadsheet with the orange and white line?
Right,
It's on the third page, the top line.
all the way to Harmony Road,
So it says 392 to 7.
that's what we talked about. Huh.
And then the second page is the bottom of the page. Second page.
What stretch?
First page,
Oh,
the
yeah.
bottom page.
Crossroads.
Yeah.
So it's the bottom of the first page and top of the
Crossroads.
second.
Or actually 34 all the way to.
What is the what is that? Is there a cost estimate associated with that, Dennis?
Yeah, what is that, 3.2, basically 3.2
I don't see a
million?
cost there.
4 days. Yeah, I don't think they, if it was outside of town limits, I don't think that they.
Oh, because
Yeah,
that's
that-
the,
gotcha.
that's the
Okay.
actual state highway, not the proposed.
Has Johnny's replacement been named?
He hasn't even formally
Oh,
said.
okay. I'm just
It was
running off
ju,
of that.
it was just, he kind of threw that out there and said, I might be retiring this summer, I think we need to have a conversation sooner rather than later, so I don't know what has been determined or not.
And I was gonna say too, you know, something to keep in mind is, I expect you'll probably get some pushback from the people who live along,
Mhm.
County Road 19, because I can
Right.
tell you, we have fielded quite a few calls from people who live on the east side of that road. The road, you know, is getting quite a few cracks in it, especially the inside lanes. Those trucks, when the trucks that are using it, these people are saying, they're vibrating our house. Stuff vibrates off the walls. And, you know, and we've said, well, it's on our list this year to mill and overlay those inside lanes that the trucks are using to smooth it out. And it's the same sort of issue we had a few years ago downtown, when the road through downtown on 392 was getting deteriorated, there were cracks. Those trucks going through there would hit those cracks, and downtown businesses were saying, they're vibrating our businesses. The road was overlaid, smoothed out, and now we've eliminated those complaints, but now we're getting them on County Road 19.
And I-
And
Between Maine and,
Main and
74?
70
When would
70.
that happen if you were to do that? Is that scheduled for this spring or summer?
This summer, we're gonna overlay those lanes, but also.
just this section right here,
call
Dennis?
or
Dennis, just
request
this
for
section
lower
here?
speed.
Would that be, I mean, if we're gonna do something with that, would we want to go to the expense of doing that if we had an opportunity, to maybe make that extension all the way out, or, I mean, is that something that would be
The
useful?
overlay is just a maintenance thing, and, you know.
So it's not like it's, okay,
No, you mill what's there and then put a new overlay back on. It's called mill and fill. So it's relatively minor maintenance, but it's needed.
needed,
That's what we did on Crossroads, isn't it? Didn't we do that on Crossroads from a certain stretch?
Yeah, Weld County did a few years ago.
Yeah.
So
So,
I had another question too.
so if I could just also point out that this, once you get north of County Road 70, the road is in Weld County for those 2 miles to Severance. And then we'd probably also have a lot of Severance comment about routing 257 up there as well. So just other
Right.
things, that's why it's on the long term,
That's why it's a long term, sure, it's gonna be a really complex, some of these projects are really complex.
right?
I want to say, first of all, I really appreciate that you all did a team approach. I think that's really good. I also really appreciate the way it's laid out here, it's very easy to see, and there's no project on here that would be bad. It's just wherever opportunities come up for us. Specifically, though, number 6, that's in the capital improvement plan for this year, the study. Do we know when that study's gonna be completed?
Which study is that, I'm sorry?
On
County Road 5.
County Road 5,
392.
all 392.
Yeah.
It's in progress right
Yeah,
now,
in
I
fact,
think.
I think, I was sitting upstairs in the candidate forum, and I think I saw an email from FHU with a memo attached on that. They've been working on it, so
So it's
I kind
pretty
of suspect.
in progress
sent
and
you the
probably
draft
pretty soon.
memo, just to-
And as Miles said, there might be a development going in there. So is that one that we could possibly see some action on if the study wants it in the next few months, or?
Miles, didn't you ask when we originally were proposed about Muth's property about that intersection getting as a
It
part
needs
of,
couple, right? I
as
think-
a part of the condition of the development going in or something, or would the developer be willing to help out, or?
I think I just brought up in the general context of the development and the need for it up there. Yeah.
And that's why I asked that question the last time we presented this. And
That was an interior road, that was,
Right.
yeah.
So I'm thinking that
I
might
mean,
be
coming
one
out
that we
to
could
the-
actually see something done fairly quickly that I think could really help people.
Yeah, so I have a 13-page memo with that email tonight, so we'll have to look at it.
You haven't read it yet?
Get busy.
Speed reading.
So Scott, when we talk about all the projects along 392, as well as, so like 21, 26, and 8, does the state already have all the necessary right-of-way for those improvements? It's just a matter of how do you partner with funding to actually get it done?
I imagine that they probably still need some right-of-way from the Jaeger parcel that's surrounded by Ptarmigan, because it's undeveloped. I would assume that, they may have, I don't know what the ultimate right-of-way is for these segments, but as you get into the hill and the bridge, it's probably not at its ultimate right-of-way width yet. So yeah, those are things that once, I guess if we wanna partner with CDOT to move that up the list or something, that's when that kind of project is.
Well, I guess my thought is that, I mean, to me, the reality is we had to partner with other communities in CDOT for I-25, so I think we're probably delusional if we think we're not going to have to partner with them for state highways inside our community. I guess my thought was just, is there right-of-way acquisition that needs to be looked at now? Or is that something that CDOT at least has the right-of-way acquisition handled? And I guess I would have the same question for number 19 for 257 is, do they already have the right-of-way for that eventual project?
I don't know, but we probably notified CDOT, didn't we, when we had something submitted from Muth on that property?
Yes, they were.
Because that's one of the things that Johnny brought to our attention when we had that meeting was, if we even thought or caught wind that there was some kind of a development or we knew something was coming, CDOT wanted to be notified just so they could be prepared in terms of right-of-way and easement acquisition, so they wouldn't be caught off guard. So I'm gonna guess, but I could be wrong, that because we've seen so much things been presented to date on that corner, that's something that must be on CDOT's radar unless it got caught up in there.
I think Larimer County would help with that a little bit too.
I've had conversations with Commissioner Donnelly on that, and he agrees that they would have those conversations with Windsor.
Well, and I think probably there's an opportunity to partner with Timnath as well, because that's, County Road 5 is going right up into them. I mean, if people can more readily take County Road 5, that helps them get to their retail, so.
Good luck with that.
I think it's time to start looking then and getting involved with them, if we're going to.
So, I think we kind of know some of the engineering issues, which are mostly river crossings and bridges. Are there, outside of river crossings and bridges, are there ones that face engineering difficulties that we should be aware of?
Crossroads extension is an engineering challenge.
What
It's
then?
an environmental challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's because of the river and the
The river,
wetland
the
and.
wetlands, the floodplain, the floodway, there's just a lot.
How far does that map go? Can you pull it to the left so we can see 11? Oh, that's as far as it goes.
Yeah, this is just to Great Western Drive. And then, we talked about Harmony Road last week. We're actively working with the property owners on the south side of Harmony Road to acquire right-of-way up there. This stretch is fairly straightforward, there's some improvements, irrigation improvements and things like that that'll need to be dealt with. But then this next stretch with the hill that you come over and some, you know, the house that's so close to the south side of the road, there'll be more, I guess, challenges in this stretch of Harmony than some of the other projects on the list.
Didn't we have a problem with Crossroads 2 West? Because we didn't have, I mean, when we did some of those improvements around the roundabout, initially the board wanted to see that extension, I think, go all the way west, but we had some, we didn't have the right of way to continue that.
So the,
Or remember, I mean, we only got to go so far and then it had to stop. And I think when we asked why we had to stop, it was because we didn't have right of way.
Like from the new roundabout over to County Line Road.
Yeah,
And I think the deal was, the embankment, there's a big drop off there, and so there's gonna be a lot of dirt work that has to be done to
Yeah.
widen that out.
but I remember there was something to do with right of way. We were able to do what we did because Martin Lynn already owned most of that right of way
Actually,
along
on
that
both
corridor.
sides.
But going farther west, he did not, and I think that's what we were told, so I don't know if that is what was, but that's why we were told. Remember, we couldn't continue that extension
so,
because there was an issue with right of way.
so if you
Well,
continue.
and the light was an issue too, because the light would all have to be reconfigured and.
If you continue west from County Line Road, that is the segment, this mile is still in unincorporated Larimer County. So we've got an IGA that we maintain this stretch of Crossroads, but it's not our right of way. And then, once you get to County Road 3, it becomes Loveland right of way at Walmart Distribution Center. So these projects, 1 and 12, need to partner with Loveland and Larimer County to make those improvements.
In that 12, is that from the county road to Highland Meadows Parkway?
Highland
Is
Meadows
that-
Parkway, yeah, and then from there, we know that, and actually Loveland has some fairly detailed plans that they've been working on for that stretch of Crossroads as well.
I know Barry's had a question.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a quick question about County Road 13, because we all know about rain dance and the size, but it's gonna over double the number of residences along that stretch. So even if there's not a need now, there probably will be a need later. And I know the Thornton pipeline's gonna go down the east side of the road, cross the river, then go under onto the west side, is their current plan. Would it make sense to start working on that right away while they're doing the Thornton water project? And before rain dance is developed versus after the fact where it might be more difficult? You know, just thinking that, you know, if it's not red now, it's probably going to be down the road.
Well, they did install the Thornton pipeline underneath New Liberty Road
Right.
last year, but yeah,
You don't see an advantage of somehow tying it with the Thornton pipeline project. Another issue that we're gonna have north of the river that we have right now is, that stretch of 13 right north of the river is identified as being in the floodway. And if you work on a road or build a road, you cannot make it any higher than the existing road. However, we've looked at some of the preliminary new floodplain studies that are out in draft form. And to our surprise, that stretch of 13 isn't in the floodway anymore. And so
So explain that again, which part is and which part isn't?
the part of 13 going just north of the river bridge.
So that part
There's
is.
a
That part
stretch
is.
that's in the floodway right now, and if you wanted to, say, even just overlay that road, you have to go out and shoot the elevation of it, and then you have to certify when you're done, you have not raised it at all, which kind of ties our hands.
And that
Also, you
is
know-
a road that we do have flooding issues.
Yes, and that's the
When we
other
get
thing,
to
is,
those
you know,
CFFs.
we periodically have.
The road floods
flood
right here,
goes
the
over.
road floods
Yeah.
right here when they shut it down because of.
Our hope is that the new flood maps get adopted and it's out of the floodway, and then we can go in and rebuild that road and raise it up. So
When will we see that?
Well, it's FEMA, and so, they never seem to meet the deadlines that they say they're going to.
But do we do something before they change their mind on the floodplain?
Well, but
No,
then
it's in the
changing it
floodway
helps
right
We
us.
now.
need them to change it in this
Oh, I thought you
case.
said that it wasn't surprisingly on there.
It's in the effective floodway right now. We're hoping that when the new maps get adopted and it's out of the floodway, so we have to wait for the new
You've
maps.
seen the map, it just hasn't been adopted.
When's that?
It's just
That's what you're just at.
21.
But that's the issue with 13 right now.
Okay.
The only other piece I'd add is that, that bridge is narrow, so it also limits pedestrian and bicycle traffic. And then we have the floodplain, and then there's no turning lanes on the County Road 13 and 392 as well, so that's kind of it's a bottleneck now, it's gonna be a future bottleneck.
Yeah.
That has been on the radar, and we've had,
Yeah.
I think, conversations about that with even some citizens who come
Yeah, no,
to some coffees.
it's obviously a good one to add to the list. I know my wife actually complained to us to talk to CDOT about, because when she's trying to make a left-hand turn,
There's no-
the southbound traffic is holding them up to sit through the lights, so, yeah, we could add several projects to the list. This is by no means all-inclusive.
Yeah, I had complaints from some folks out at Ames on County Road 17. That there's a bad intersection out there for no left turn design. When they're trying to get out of Ames. I don't know if that's anywhere on the
So
radar.
to go north on 17 there,
Yes,
turn left out of it.
she's seen, I mean, she witnessed an accident there and said that folks, you can't really see, and sometimes you just have to kinda
And there's
go.
even a hill, as you drive out there, there's actually a hill to the left, which makes it difficult to see.
Well, where the hand is the only way to turn left or go north on 17. The intersection that's just south of the hand right there is only that auto left in, but there's not a way to turn north.
Right.
Right, so they've asked, I mean, she just brought it to my attention when I met with, the Ames Community College.
As far as like an
president
acceleration
last
lane
week.
or something like that, or?
So Scott, going forward, is this gonna be treated like a capital improvement separate from the CIP? Is that the idea? Is it
I
a
think
separate fund?
it's another resource that the town board can use when you're looking at the roadway improvement plan, where this group of staff sees some issues and some opportunities, but it is something that
When would
it's up to the board to,
when will we make those decisions? And the current road impact fees just go into the capital improvement fund, right? Or are they they're kept as a separate because they must be spent on,
so we've got a road impact fee fund, and I just asked finance for the balance of that. At the end of 2017, the balance was 3.277. So with the next,
3.27?
yeah, so it's probably over 3.3 by now, but yeah, it's a drop in the bucket.
Right. Is that all, what other monies do we have that we could utilize towards projects such as this?
Capital improvement fund.
Yeah,
We can
capital.
identify just capital,
And I guess I also need to point out that out of that 3.2, there are some,
restriction.
well, there's some IOUs that we have now as well with, that we'll probably be getting some requests for reimbursement to whittle that down a little bit.
So as August comes and we start looking at the capital improvement plan, is this a component that we would?
I think you'd look at it in conjunction with that, yeah.
Okay. So we'll look at the fund balance, we'll look at our capital improvement balance, look at these projects with some price tags.
Mhm.
Maybe-
I'm wondering, would County Road 5 qualify for anything that the MPO would look at? Because we've got Larimer and Timnath, and we've got other players, and they are gonna be having a call for projects. And I know a lot of their projects do relate to safety issues. I think we could identify that as a safety issue if we don't do something about it, or it might already be identified as a
Loveland.
safety issue now.
Loveland might be
Loveland
interesting.
And we've got
Yeah.
Loveland there. So I don't know if we are utilizing our opportunities with monies that MPO has available for projects, and I, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, County Road 5 is also identified in the I-25 corridor plan as an alternative parallel to be getting on I-25 to reduce the impact to I-25. So, yeah, that is obviously something that.
It's got MPO written all over.
And Scott, I think we've even talked, Eric's not here, but that is an alternative to get a trail to the Poudre River Trail.
Mhm.
Because we can't, it's so costly to go any other direction. The latest thought was maybe use County Road 5 to 32 behind Ptarmigan.
Right,
I know that's a pretty narrow road, but there might be a trail component out there
Sure.
that would interest the MPO as well.
But if we have an opportunity in number 6 there, from coalition, we could do the trail at the same time.
Scott and Dennis, I may be way off base here, but is there any way, any possibility of taking these section by section, drawing out the actual roadway plans, what it would cost, and then sit down and look at priorities as to which ones should we start now, and which ones should we start later, and which ones can we get by with? I mean, you've kind of done this, but I'm wondering about drawing it out with costs and picture it, and so that we can look at it, and I'm not gonna be on the board. but-
sure. Well, drawing it out would be something that we wouldn't, I guess, for example, the Harmony Road work that we're acquiring right-of-way, and we're actually paying
Right.
Northern Engineering to help us with drawing that.
And we've talked
two-dimensional.
about that, and
So, but I guess, so to draw these drawings for this mile, or for even the half mile, to get some exhibits for our right-of-way acquisition is $5,000 or $6,000 just for that segment. So if we were to try and draw out all of them, it would be a lot of contract services. We do have the cost estimates that FHU put together that are broken down by segments, that are those that are in town, but,
Maybe, Patty, maybe we should get a bigger copy of that for all of us. Maybe that would be helpful, Ivan, if you have, because I think what you're kind of looking for is on that document. You just need a bigger copy
You
of it.
bet, I'll go make some copies.
I mean, I'm not saying you have to do it right now, but just
You got it.
sometime in our packet,
You betcha.
maybe that would be
Put it in
helpful.
your mail.
I've got a few here. I don't have enough for everybody, but you're welcome to have these.
well.
I defer my copy to Mr. Adams.
And I say,
Because-
Me too.
Me too.
Because these would be at least the starting point, I'm not, you know, and then enough for us to maybe take a look at this to determine what we're gonna be doing our strategic planning.
Yes.
And and I'm sure in the strategic plan, this is gonna be a topic that is gonna be, you know, a part of in that plan, and then we could even identify with that, maybe what is a priority or two out of this information.
So I said I was probably way off base, but by the same token, I guess I'm thinking about, how can we get started? And get it, I mean, to where we know what we can do and what we can't do, and where's our cost limits, you know, and I just think, well, you've heard me say this before, but I mean, those are my concerns about this, and I keep looking at traffic, and I say, what are we doing about it?
Well, and I keep wondering too if, you know, like for instance, 21 is a big project to go all the way from basically 17th Street clear out.
Right.
But, you know, I look at some of the more, you know, manageable pieces that we can bite off sooner. For example, I know as people are coming off 13 to turn onto Main Street, they don't have a yield, it's a merge. But everyone who's on 392 is like, you're not getting in front of me, and all of a sudden they're, you know, bumper to bumper. If even just from 13 in, we could make that 2 lanes so that the traffic coming in on 13 just has a contiguous lane, so it's not this merge, back to, you know, go to 1, back to 2.
Right.
You know, and even as you come out, kind of the same thing, there's enough traffic that's turning northbound onto, or I'm sorry, southbound on a 13. You know, if you had it 2 lanes as you went up to that intersection, and like the left lane became left turn only at 13, and then, you know, the right lane is the through, because then you have the bridge, which obviously that's a bigger piece, but I just think even just some of those smaller pieces that can help alleviate some minor things, and like Miles and I have both talked about, you know, as well as everyone on the board, like the turn lanes at you know, at the intersection where Project 6 is of County Road 5. Just those little things that aren't huge price tags, but help at least give some relief to the problems.
And I guess that's where I think staff was looking at, if you can look at the list of projects and let us know where you hear the most complaints, or where you know, obviously 6 is one of those.
Yeah, I think,
6 is
I think 6 is
no-brainer.
definitely, I mean, I think that's something we've all looked at and talked about.
Yes.
And I think, you know, if we could make that a priority
Mhm.
to do whatever we could get accomplished even in 2018, I don't know.
Yes. I'm keeping in mind that, you know, I can sit here and Nays could and draw my number 1 priority, but I think a big factor is the opportunities that come out because of development or partnerships. Because we don't have
Yeah.
enough money to do everything we would want to do.
That even highlights 6 more. You mentioned
Oh,
MPO,
Right,
Laramie
MPO,
County, the developer,
the
so there's lots of.
developer, it's an opportunity. So again, back to appreciate the blue lines and the red lines, because it gives us a little guide on what we have opportunity to do sooner.
Well, what I was gonna say is, I mean, my 2 cents on it is, I think the easiest and shortest component that doesn't involve CDOT would be 2, 1 to 12, down there on Crossroads.
2, 1, yeah.
We don't have homes that butt right up to the road. It involves Larimer County, unincorporated Larimer County right there. Loveland's already got their plan between 12 and the highway.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're already gonna make that. Why can't we start progressing to get the only component, which is everything in blue and red right there, ready to go? And that gives us 4 lanes all the way out to I-25. I mean, hell, they've already got the roundabout, or the
Right.
I-25 project done there at Crossroads is already gonna be 4 lanes under I-25.
We have more control of that, and that's why it's a blue.
Uh-huh. As soon as they're done with the
We have more
bridge
opportunity there.
work, they're gonna start working on both of those roundabouts on both sides of I-25 right there at Crossroads.
And again, see, that would be my number 1, because I think people would appreciate some other projects better. But again, it comes back to, we have opportunity there, so.
But it also doesn't involve CDOT. I mean, that's
It
us
doesn't
just
involve
working
CDOT.
with
We
our
can
partners
actually
we've
do
already,
something.
right?
Right.
I did have one other drawing that didn't make the packet, but one of the engineers, Curtis, put together this conceptual drawing, and this is the project, project number 9 at 7th and Main. Just so showing, I thought,
Oh,
I wanted to show this because I thought this is the convenience store, this is dollar store at 7th and Main. So this was another project that, you know, I think it was an outside the box idea that maybe isn't a big ticket from a budget standpoint,
oh,
but maybe is something that would have a,
Well, that gets tremendously backed up right there, especially with
Yeah.
schools and.
what's the idea there? What-
Dennis, can you help me with
What are
the?
they, what are they?
Well, yeah, you know, let me say this too, because a minute ago I wanted to say this. You know, my recommendation for the board is when you think about priorities, think about what's causing the most pain for people.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And I don't want to contradict your idea about Crossroads, but is that really painful for people?
Yes.
It flows.
He said,
Traffic out there.
Not where he was talking about. I mean, it's
Yes, it
moving
is.
east and west.
Right.
This is a painful intersection, I think, for
Yeah.
people. It backs up all the way past Walnut Street.
Yeah.
Oh, most
Yes.
And it's, you know, your own citizens are severely impacted by this. So what this is to make a double left turn lane. So northbound, double left. What you have to do, of
There's
course,
2
to
options
accommodate
there,
that
so.
is you have to move the northbound through lane into what's now the right turn. Well, you need a right turn lane too, or you're gonna stack that. And so you gotta push into, you gotta add that into the 7-Eleven, towards 7-Eleven. I was looking at the right-of-way map, and it looks to me like the right-of-way is there, and And so I don't think there's a taking, and if it is, it's pretty minor, it might be a little bit on the radius or in the corner, but, so this would give you double left, and that's what you need in that to stop that from backing all the way south of Walnut Street. Because, you know, there's so much traffic, and of course, we all know it's school hours that when this is so bad.
What's that require from CDOT to do that? Obviously a new light or something in order to allow for the double turn, or, I mean, what?
Yeah, I think that signal pole has to be moved, so, you know, you'd have to work with CDOT.
Would it be in conjunction with the southbound
Yeah,
approaching
you
the
have-
intersection too?
Yeah, you have to,
Up here too?
yeah,
This
they
is,
have to be aligned, so you have to do some rework over there.
Dennis, I appreciate your comment. That's one of my number one things is where are people feeling the most stress in traffic? And so that's why I'm investing in number 6, because I think that's gonna make a little bit of a difference pretty quick. That would be interesting too.
Well, we have our top 3, I think.
Well, and I would
mean, there's probably others, but I think this one, County Road 5, and Crossroads, if we could really see what is it gonna take? I mean, if we could even get this done, because they're gonna have a longer summer this year. I don't know what it takes, it's probably, I know, it's way too optimistic, I know.
Leaving for
Leaving and all of that work, but, you know, you never know, you never know.
well, what I was gonna say, and this, I'm not, this is not disputing anything anybody's saying. Number 5 and 6 are up at 5 and 392, but remember, 392 coming in and out of Windsor right there is 55 miles an hour. People feel like they're moving until they get up to the intersection up there.
Right.
Crossroads is 45.
Right.
So it feels like when there's a lot of traffic, it's also gonna feel like I'm not going as fast as I really wanna go. And I can tell, like what Ivan feels too, and probably Miles, I mean, those of us that live on the more southern end and go to and from Centera, or my kids where they go to school, et cetera, is when it's packed, it's packed. I mean, at the rush hour times, it's full. And if you're trying to access Crossroads right there, you sometimes have to wait 5 minutes just to find an opening between both ways, just to be able to turn out onto it. So I'm going concurring with it being in the top 3 areas, as I'm saying that as justification for what you're saying,
Well,
so.
Dennis, let me go back to your 7th and 392 there. Would that get rid of those stakes that are standing up on the south side?
No,
No,
that's to
because
stop
you
people
still
turning
want
left.
Sorry.
people from turning
I
left.
wish it would, but those are the most, I see so many near accidents there. It's, I went particularly around 3 o'clock when the schools are getting out. I have seen people still come across from that filling station. And I just wondered if it would, but
You know, to eliminate the stakes, you'd have to do a raised median.
when I thought, see, I wasn't sure if you were talking about south of that
Yeah.
being the double left turn, because it's.
I think this one takes priority though too, because of what you just said, Ivan, because this is close to our kids,
Oh,
and it's a
Safety
safety,
issue.
it's a number 1 safety issue.
Right.
5 is a traffic issue, and there's gonna be, and there is some safety concerns, but this has lots of kids who walk this intersection, and I think that's why this one really should stand out.
And lots of parents drive it.
Well, you can wait 4 or 5 cycles of the light just to be able to turn left up there, if it's 7:30 in the morning, or, you know, close to when
Well,
school's.
but I mean, it's similar at County Road 5. I mean, when I'm headed west,
5, 3
I've been
o'clock.
backed up at the top of the hill, so on the
Mhm.
east side of Ptarmigan,
Mm-hmm.
waiting for the County Road light. You know, so I mean, I can't imagine what that's like for somebody trying to turn
Is that this one?
out
here?
of
Is that
Highland
this?
Meadows.
Was there some reason?
The traffic is almost to here.
Yes.
The
Yeah,
traffic from 6 almost extends to 20.
right.
As the team looked at that, was there some reason that didn't show up on this chart?
What?
Which one, Main Street?
Main Street and
And
South?
Center?
Number 9.
Duh. I didn't, there's no color.
That's because it's such a the number 9 covers it all up.
Okay.
Okay.
So number 9, Dennis has a 13-page memo on number 6. We
Okay.
can come back with
And he
addition,
can't sleep at night,
Which
so
I
get
haven't
that
read.
read.
we can come back with more information on number 9. And what was and
12 to 2.
9, 6.
I mean, I think what you've got in blue is plus number 9, which is
Yeah,
probably blue under the 9.
Yeah.
Is,
Yeah, that's.
you know, I think those are the top tier right-of-way type things,
This
just as the
one.
group
This one and this one.
Yeah,
did.
I
Okay,
think so.
we'll come back with some more information on each of those then.
Because Harmony was already in the works, you already had Harmony down in the, from what you were telling us last week, that's really already in
Right.
process.
Yeah, well, and we do have a special committee who's working on 74, and then we've got a couple of folks from Windsor assigned to be part of that, so that'll keep that momentum kind of hopefully going on what's happening with that.
Right. Yeah, the only thing to keep in mind is that, when we're budgeting, that'll obviously be a.
Yeah.
Didn't you say that's a 19 budgetary item? Was that?
There will probably be some aspects that we would need to consider, at least right-of-way acquisition and,
So we're about 8 weeks away from strategic planning. Mid-May.
May.
And May 24th,
April, May.
25th,
So
24,
it's
27.
already scheduled.
realistic timeline to do next step, it's probably realistic. Okay.
You mean like a follow-up work session
Yeah,
sometime in May or before strategic planning?
for us to break it down, make some decisions about where we wanna go and how much money we're gonna spend, and make it happen.
In the next couple of years?
Okay. That's exciting.
all right?
So Patty, I don't think you need
I
to make
appreciate
copies,
it.
just run in here and have
Yeah.
somebody.
I think we're good.
Yeah, plan we use.
Anything else?
That's all I.
I
Any
appreciate
other
the
questions
team
for
again.
Scott?
Teamwork on this, that was really good.
Okay.
Is that what you were looking for? More dialogue? All of that, the more?
Well, team approach, because none of these projects stand alone by any one department, so, you know, the
important.
I think it's really.
Are you looking for like a 60-day follow-up on this or something like that in May?
I'm just thinking out loud about how quickly we can move forward.
Oh, we have to wait till the capital improvement plan to budget for these.
Right.
So I think we need. I don't-
Why, are you just talking about his
Well,
follow-up
it's
on?
a capital improvement plan for next year.
Yeah.
I'm hoping maybe in strategic planning, if we said, here are 1 or 2 key projects that we can move forward a little more quickly with, because we got to do design and studies.
That's what I'm saying, we would still have to approve their,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we could authorize design or.
We'd authorize parts of it and then budget. for next
Well, and
year.
truly, some of these
Yeah,
are still
that's true.
follow-up from 2 years ago, aren't they? I mean, some of these key right-of-ways were part of our strategic plan from a couple years ago. It's kind of the one that's still in progress.
Crossroads Boulevard from 257 to Great Western Drive is the one that's specifically in this current strategic plan. And so that's the one that we got the grant,
Okay.
and as the RFP just went out, so
When's
it's,
the next call?
it's moving
for projects?
incrementally.
I think it's coming
That's
up.
pretty soon, isn't it?
Yeah. Kelly, do you know where we're at with the study for that?
For Crossroads?
For Crossroads?
They just did an RFP for it, and so they're gonna get bids back probably in the next few weeks, is my understanding, and then they'll get designing. We need to wrap up the grant before the end of November, so at that point, you'll probably start to get some more budget numbers that you can include for 2019.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, I will, we're having a special MPO meeting on the 15th now, but I will definitely check and see.
Got a lot of things
Make
coming
sure that we,
together, so-
yeah, and start asking questions and see if any of these things might fit into some kind of funding.
And it might look good if we have money that we're willing to put in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, anything else with road improvement? Moving on to future meetings then, we've got included a future town board meeting schedule in our packet this evening.
So we've kind of updated it, we've kind of moved some things around in order to, meet some timelines and group some of the things together. So on March 12th at your 5:30 time, we've tentatively scheduled the executive session with the DDA board, to talk about the mill and, you know, how to proceed with that. The DDA board is available that night. And if we get done before the 7 PM meeting, then, you know, you guys, we can, of course, talk about some other items, but, felt like it was important to get that in front of you sooner than
We
later.
could always call the current board meeting real quick. if
Yep, we
have time.
could, yep, we definitely could do that if we got done early. And at the March 12th meeting, for as far as the brush recycling site, the space over the Public Works facility is not going to work out, due to a variety of issues, but, staff has been through it. Dennis can probably speak a little bit to it as far as, I think there were some ditch rider issues or something like that.
Well, it's a ditch rider road that
Okay.
goes along parallel to railroad tracks.
Mhm.
And of course, really, the only access to that piece of property is where the access was built. That's really the only access that should be used by anybody, except maybe a ditch rider occasionally go in. But then they couldn't figure out how to get the public back around to the west side of this facility, because, you know, it's all fenced. And, that site was designed and developed for really one purpose, and that is Public Works to be out where they are. The public stops there at the front of the building. If they wanna go in, they go in, but that's as far as they go. The west part of the property is designed for future Public Works expansion, and it's intended to always be off limits to the general public.
What do we need for that, 4 to 8
So-
acres?
Yeah, about 4 acres. So I put a call into Stacy asking her if she can track us down 4 acres where we might be able to have a brush site. But at the end of the day, what we need to get done is to have the town board consider the fee increase, so that we can go on ahead and get that piece moving. No matter where the brush site is, we need to talk about the fee increase.
But Patty, don't we have to look at 4 to 8 acres? Because we
Minimally
can't just
4,
look
well,
at
it depends.
population now.
Right, well, right now we're using 4 acres for brush and recycling. If the town board would ever do away with that commercial piece, then we could probably continue on with just that 4 acres.
You remember if we got rid of the commercial piece, then we thought 4 would be still be okay.
Well, but I heard him say it could move to 8, to 7 to 8.
Sure, so Stacy's doing the look for me, we'll see what she can come up with, but I wanted to let you know kind of, because we had talked about bringing the brush site back to you pretty quickly.
Okay, Miles?
I'm gonna be out next week for spring break,
Okay.
but I would not support a fee increase. I think we subsidize enough businesses around town with tax waivers, and so I think this is something we can do for the residents. I won't be here, so
Okay.
I'll say my piece tonight.
Okay.
So I know the site north of the Public Works property is at some point potentially gonna be deeded over as a park. Is there any potential to maybe get a sliver of that, to take possession of that right away, to be able to then have a brush,
From
the
what I-
brush and recycling
Right.
site up there?
And reduce the size of Talking Collar or whatever it was supposed to be.
I think, I'll have to check with Eric, but if I remember right, that park itself is going to be so small already, and then to put the brush and recycling there, it
Oh,
just wasn't
okay.
a compatible use,
Okay.
from what I remember from
And
Eric's
they would need a
discussion.
fence to block it off, and that would,
But I would support an increase in the fee, because if it means we have it or we don't have it. Or we subsidize it, but I don't think it's that much that we're talking for residents to be able to have this service in our community and in our town. It's a very nominal fee.
Now, Miles, did you have a concern with increasing it on the commercial users?
No, not at all.
Okay, so
I mean-
yours was just your concern's
The
just
residents,
residential.
yeah.
But I mean, it's at $3 now, so I mean, even in our discussion about doubling it, that's $6.
That's $6, very nominal.
So,
That's what-
Your thing is the principle of it though, right?
Part of it's principle,
Because
part of we
like
want
you said,
people
we can-
recycling brush, not put it in their dumpster. If you make it
Yeah.
$6, $9, $12, it's nominal, but then it becomes like, I'll just throw it in my trash. We don't want that stuff in the landfill.
I'm not sure $3 is gonna detour. It might, some of your folks, for principle, but somebody who really wants to
My folks,
recycle, they're gonna pay.
Well, and don't forget our discussion, which was the increased cost that you might have to pay to your garbage provider for,
Yeah, but you don't tell them. Come on.
Yeah, but eventually.
It goes on the bottom, you put trash on
But I
top.
think the
oh, we're not recording this.
I
I've
think the
done it once.
difference in the volume of brush that you're
Yeah.
talking about, the amount that's small enough to just put in your trash can, we're gonna do that anyway, even if it was free to go to brush recycling, because for a small trash can full, you're
Yeah.
probably not gonna make the trip
We're
out
talking
there.
about folks who can have a pickup load full, probably.
Yeah.
Or a minivan.
We can track
I don't
use
know, we've
and
subsidized
report back in a
businesses.
year, and, you know, if we need to adjust the fees, then so be it.
So was it the fees, but also the talk of eliminating commercial? Weren't we?
Well, I
We
think, well, we need to
discussed
come, but I think the main thing is, they need to get on a schedule, what the fees are, so they can implement the fees.
If- And I can,
For this
I'll go
year.
back to my
For
notes,
this year.
I know Eric kept really good notes, I've got some in here that I'm not gonna.
And we had
get a
talked
chance
about
to read.
lots of different scenarios.
But I thought we had kind of conditionally said that we were in favor of eliminating commercial.
Or charging them, not
I don't-
subsidizing them.
I don't,
Yeah,
we just
I don't
said
think it
market
was.
rate.
I think it was
We
market
said
rate
we're
for
gonna charge
commercial.
them even more, whatever,
Just
I mean,
trying
it
to
might
recall, I
even be
thought we
more
had-
than double.
Yeah, so we were gonna
I think
charge
less-
whatever
Going
Hagman,
7 to 14, it was double, that was still less than they would pay,
Yeah.
and less time for them.
That's right.
So we said, even if it was,
14.
I mean, it might be more, because we said, charge them whatever we're
yeah, the
charged.
commercial, yep,
Right.
yep, agreed.
We should not
That's what I'm
subsidize that.
remembering as well. So that'll be on your
Yeah.
March 12th agenda. March 19th is your town manager candidates meet and greet, which we've got set up at the Public Works facility from 5:30 to 7:30. We've put together some comment cards, which will be distributed, and HR will be coordinating that effort. And then on March 26th, we've kind of moved a couple items in there. We have park development fees set up, the Weld RE4 building permit fee waiver discussion, the school
Which
district.
waiver?
The fee waiver discussion for the new
For the school
school.
New
district.
school,
For the
okay,
school
okay, I'm
district?
sorry.
The school district is also
Gotcha.
asking for, they would like to store some water in Kiger, but wanting to do it at a much reduced rate. So I would like to kind of have both those school district items in there so you can so you see exactly what we're providing, or what the school district is asking of us, or asking of the town board, as opposed to having it parsed out and, you know, making a decision on one and then wondering, you know, what's happening the next week. And then potentially we'll have some brush site options. So I am asking if we can potentially have that at 5:30 PM start time on the 26th in order to have all of those items on the
Instead of the
agenda.
6 o'clock?
Yep, instead of 6 o'clock, and bring in dinner.
You're up.
Okay. And then moving into April 2nd, we have the preliminary review of the water rate study, and I think everything else is about the same. But I will get this updated. I just started putting everything together and talked to Christy a little bit today, and wanted to make sure the town board was comfortable with that.
Outside the box on the brush, could we possibly, just brainstorming, charge enough on the commercial side to
Subsidized?
subsidize the residential?
Oh, that's a thought.
Yeah, I mentioned that last time with Eric too.
Let me
I
talk to her.
got, I know I got the idea somewhere.
Well, like a cost recovery model.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Charge
you did, that's right,
120%.
that's right, you brought
Then
that
I'm
up.
all in favor
Okay,
of.
I'll see what we can come up with.
Okay,
I'll see what we can come up with.
I remember, like I said, one of my guys that came to help me years ago with his stuff, that I tried, like I said, I tried to take him out there saying, hey, you can go. He goes, well, it's like $75 to take it to the Larimer County landfill. And it's just as much or more to take it up to Waste Management.
yeah.
And we're talking $75 just for like a pickup's worth or something like that, so.
Yeah,
I think we could increase ours substantially on commercial and still be less than the alternatives.
Oh, yeah,
And possibly, like I said, keep it.
subsidized for residents.
That's a good old.
Absolutely, take a look, see.
Mm.
Anything else?
Good.
Okay, we're good to go then, folks. See you
Thank you.
next week.
Thanks you guys for all your time today.
Nothing else?